Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder, it is time to have a look at a changelog for updates 1.93.1.11. This came out today, and it was actually large enough to have a server maintenance. Now, what we find from this changelog is basically a lot of the changes which were talked about in Father Gentlespeed's data mines, and also some extra stuff when it comes to it. So if you've seen any of those videos, you've probably seen a lot of this stuff before, but also understand that there is new information as well. There are some changes to the game which aren't listed here, stuff such as gold banners for stuff like premium vehicles, which is pretty cool. I don't think is mentioned here at all, so make sure to have a look out for some odd changes if you've seen any, and also if you've seen any bugs relating to this update, make sure to bug report it, because I've already seen a few which definitely don't look very fun. So let's start off with the ground vehicle model, damage model, characteristic, and weaponry changes. The cruiser tank Grant 1 USA, so this is the premium, basically the M3 Lee, but with the Grant turret. A bug has been fixed where the single-dimensional stabilizer was missing on the 75 M2. So the 75 now has a stabilizer, and the M8A1, the AA machine gun, is now under commander control. So if you lose somebody like your gunner, you're still going to be able to use that wonderful AA machine gun, which is the 50 cal on the top. The 685 has now become a floaty boy, so it's able to float now. The Type 75 SPH, it's actually changing its proximity fuse now. So the M107 proximity fuse shell has had the ability to set up the explosion distance manually removed. The explosion initiates with a proximity fuse within a 3-meter radius from the target, a surface, tank, aircraft, helicopter. The proximity explosion is only possible if the shell travels a minimum of 300 meters distance to enable fuse arming. So they've made the Type 75 SPH even worse than it was before, which is unfortunate for it, but, you know, it does mean that, I suppose, if a person is about 300, well, more than 300 meters away, it would basically have the same effect. It just kind of sucks that that's another nerf to the Type 75 SPH. When it was first on the dev server, there was a lot of people saying that was going to be crazy, it was going to be broken, and no, it wasn't, because of the fact that its proximity shells were just never going to be as good as shown on the dev server. If that was ever the case, then yes, it would be insanely good, but if you looked into the Type 75 itself, that was never going to fly. The Saddam 25 Mistral, an inconsistency has been fixed between the order of firing missiles and how they disappear in the X-ray mode. That's kind of cool. The ADATs, so the possibility of automatic target lock. Sorry about that. The possibility of automatic target lock from optical tracking with targeting from the radar position has been removed. So no automatic target lock. Holy hell. The Centurion Action X, so the new premium, gets an L3A1 machine gun instead of a Besser. That should be a nice little improvement, but, you know, won't make too much of a difference. The 141, which is the monster of rank 1, if you haven't picked it up, I believe it's available on Humble Bundle right now. A visual model inconsistency between the commander and gunner, and the text description has been corrected. So, not a huge change, but something to remark. The Ostwind 2 order of ammunition rack depletion has been specified. The wrong crew member counted has been fixed, and the ability to shoot from one barrel when the gunner is knocked out has been removed. So the gunner now controls both sides of the guns instead of just one, which was a little bit odd before. The Stura Meal, a bug has been fixed, leaving some ammo rack modules to remain visible even after complete shell depletion. I wonder why that would happen. I've actually had a problem with the Stura Mill for a long time, where I've been hitting its ammunition, but it hasn't been exploding, and I'm wondering if this has something to do with it. The M1 Abrams and the M1IP Abrams order of ammo rack filling has been changed. Unprotected shell storage at the bottom of the turret fills with the lowest priority. Good stuff. So now it makes more sense when it comes to survivability for those two machines. The BMP3 and the mouse, that is an odd combo. Targeting time has been added to turret drive description. Okay, fair enough. The BT-7F-32, now the machine gun mounted on the turret, has been removed from the damage model. Okay, so you can't destroy it, but it still should be there. Actually, I'm just going to check that real quick while everything goes on. That's one thing about using this new system. I can actually have a look at other stuff while trying to also make these videos. We'll move on though. The AMX-10RC, the hydropneumatic suspension, is now able to tilt the hull. Clearance adjustment range has been increased, so that's good. It means that we'll be able to move the vehicle a little bit more, have a little bit more movement, and hopefully that helps it a bit. The AMX-10RC is a weird one. It's got a lot of really nice things to it. So it has stuff such as the thermals. It has stuff such as a nice rangefinder. It has a decent top-tier round, but at the same time, it struggles mobility-wise, and also when it comes to its stabilizer, which makes quite a large difference. So let's have a look at the F-32. Where is this? It's in here, and there it is. So it still has the machine gun. It just isn't part of the damage model, even though it still has an amount of armor on it. So that's kind of odd. I'm going to have to do a bit more research into that one. The Type 16 two front axles are now controllable. Previously, 3 axles were controllable, but this was incorrect and has been rectified. So now you should have a little bit less movement, but at the same time, you should be able to keep your speed a little bit more. Designations of the commanders and captured tanks in the German tree have been fixed. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but we'll have to see. The naming of the Sherman 1C Firefly premium tank has been changed to Sherman 1C Trizniek. So this is the Polish Sherman that's sat in the British tree. It actually has a Polish flag on it, which is really cool. So yeah, it's one of the only vehicles in game with a Polish flag. The 57mm Shot Mark 5 THV. The initial speed has been changed from 883 to 891, so a little bit of a change. The Leopard 2A4, the maximum speed has been changed from 72 to 68, so I believe it has the same acceleration, it just has the lower top speed. Only by 4 kilometers now, so it probably shouldn't make too much difference. The M18 Super Hellcat, the position of the camera for SB mode has been fixed. Now, when you say the position... Wait, the M18 Super Hellcat. Is that really what it's called in-game? I thought it had a different name. Oh, no, it's called that. Fair enough. The M18 and the M18 90mm gun motor carriage. So the M18 Super Hellcat. I wonder why they never specified when it came to different vehicles. The MX-30 B2 and the Brennus. The mechanics of the transmission operation has been fixed. Now the transmission allows forward and reverse movement at the same speed. Oh Jesus. It's going to be running around the place, even still struggling without that stabilizer though, but still should be okay. The VK4501P, the 88mm PZGR shell has been added to the ammunition loadout, so this is the event vehicle from back in the day, which is actually a really fun vehicle to use. But then you have the Panzerbefehlswagen 6P, which is the broken 5.7 premium that everybody forgets about. The FV102, the Swingfire Mark II AT-GEM has been added, so make sure to have a look at that, see what its statistics are, because obviously that's going to be important for a lot of people. And it's not on the Swingfire, is it? FV102. No, it's on the Striker. So the BAE Swingfire, it has 700mm of penetration at 0, 606 at 30, and 350 at 60. When it comes to everything else, it is exactly the same as the other missile that the Striker is able to fire. So you just get increased penetration by around about 150mm, which is nothing to sniff at. You know, that's actually a decent amount. But you're not getting like increased velocity or anything like that. Hello, Bernard. The next one is the 20mm DM43. The type of shell has been changed from APT to APCR. The armor-piercing value has also been changed. So there you go. Should have a little bit more penetration, probably a little less damage though. The M60A1 AOS, the reverse speed has been changed from 11 to 8, so you're a little bit slower. And the M60A1 Rise P, a smoke generator modification, has been added. Now, is that talking about the ESS system, or is that talking about something else? Let's have a look, because if that's talking about an ESS system, that would be lovely to see. Looks like it does have the ESS system, also has the smoke shell system, and also has the smoke grenade system. So if you really want to cover a battlefield in smoke, the Rise P could do it for you. The next one is the 70mm Type 3 Heat. The armor piercing has been changed from 76 to 80. So a little bit of a change, but not too much. The 106mm M344A1 Heat FS, I believe this is the recoilless rifle Heat FS. The armor piercing has been changed from 360 to 433, so a big hit, a big buff in penetration. Hopefully it does a lot of damage. The 2C6, the elevation and traverse speeds have been changed from 60 to 80. This is of course the Tunguska, so it's going to be able to turn a hell of a lot faster and also move those guns a hell of a lot faster. The VT12, the recoil whilst firing from the right side cannon has been reduced. The maximum reverse speed has been limited to 40 kilometers an hour. So it can't go as fast as it would before, but at the same time, the random recoil from the right-hand side. So the gun on the right recoiled, and the gun on the left just didn't. It was one of those very, very odd situations. The M36B1, the T108 shell has been added to the ammunition loadouts. Now this is the ammunition for the heat, which you find on other American 90mm, if the data mine was correct. And yes, it is the T108 DA90/50, pens 305-264-152 at 853 meters per second. So that should be nice to the M36. I still think it has inherent issues, but you know, it's always nice to get a round which can pen more. Especially with a tank destroyer which struggled when it came to penetrating other vehicles. The let's see. The M26A1 and the M36B1, the default M318 shell has been replaced by the M77 shell. Now that's actually a good change. There was no reason to have that other shell, so it's nice to see as a default. So it's nice to see that changed. Then, for the 70mm Type 95 APHE, the speed drop at distance has been specified, reduced. Nice. The Type 60 SPRGC, the engine power has been changed from 120 to 150, so a little bit more oomph in that little machine. The Valentine Mark I, the armor values of the vehicle have been refined. Previously, some parts of the vehicle had either overestimated or underestimated armor values in comparison with the current armor value data. So therefore, it will be stronger in some areas and weaker in others. The armor overall of the Valentine doesn't really matter too much because it has that inherent weak spot on the front. And it looks like the inherent weak spot is slightly better than before, but it's still there. There's this weak spot of 60mm on the front at 2.7, where the driver sits. So if you just shoot where the driver is, you'll knock the driver and then knock the turret, and it's only 60mm through. The turret itself is only 65, but it's got a lot of weird areas on it where you can shoot, and it can go up to like 140. So just shoot where the driver is, and you'll be able to kill it every time. The next one is the 75 Type 2 Heat. The armor piercing has been changed from 76 to 90, so that heat has become more effective. The Object 268, the OF530 shell, has been replaced by the OF540, so hopefully that does a little bit more damage. If you've never used the Object 268, it's probably one of the hardest tanks to use in game. It really doesn't feel nice to use. And let's see, so the OF540, yeah, it gets a little bit more pen, but it still only pens 50, so there's really not much point in it. The 12.8 centimeter PZGR initial speed has been changed from 860 to 880, so it's much more, well, not much more accurate, but still accurate. The key knee, the 37mm Type 94 shell has been replaced with the 37mm Type 1 shell. Okay, well that's kind of nice for it. Hopefully it will do a little bit more pen. The Conqueror, Chieftain Mark III and Chieftain Mark V, kinetic rounds no longer explode in the turret when hit. Lovely stuff. Finally. Finally, when it comes to the British vehicles, now they shouldn't just die randomly when penned through the turret. If you don't understand why, then the problem that has always been there when it comes to these vehicles is they have two-stage ammunition, right? So if you hit the part of the ammunition which doesn't have the explosive around it, or doesn't have any materials that is supposed to explode, is just solid round, then if you hit that, it doesn't make any sense to be able to actually explode and blow up the turret. So therefore, you know, that hopefully now, with this change, we'll see that, especially when it comes to kinetic rounds, because it's just AP on AP. The ME163 ammo type designation has been specified, so it has a few different belts as well. Looking at the aircraft, the A129 Internationals, this is the Italian helicopter. Radar receiving system notification has been shown on the multifunctional display. That's actually really nice to hear. The helicopter ATGM characteristics have been specified. Missile maneuverability has been significantly reduced. In some cases, it was similar to homing missiles. Holy hell. The aiming accuracy of target trackers has been improved, and a moving target tracked by such systems has now increased chance of being hit. So you're going to have to test that for yourselves, but that sounds like a big nerf to the ATGMs that helicopters are able to fire. The next one, trees in the aircraft part of locations are now obstacles for radar trackers and ground vehicle radars. Whoa, great. That's wonderful. Thank God. That is something that should have been in from the beginning, but I'm glad once again we get an improvement from radar, which, you know, just shows how it's just getting better and better. The more trees you have in a radar target range, the weaker the signal is, and the less chance your target may be locked. This is awesome. This is really, really good. This means that helicopters can hide from stuff on the ground if they're able to. So therefore, making helicopters a little bit more useful compared to it basically means that some of the helicopters which aren't the crazy really good ones have a chance of being used. The antennas and propellers that incorrectly remained after some parts they were connected to were torn apart now disappear. Well, that's good. The Key 67-1 Co, the aiming angles of turrets have been specified. The IL-4, the turret ammo has been changed. It's increased by 30 rounds. The ME264A1A U1. Wait a second. I don't think that's right. I think that's supposed to be 262. Because it doesn't really make a lot of sense with that. So yeah, I think that's supposed to be ME262 A1A U1. That is the, of course, the wait, where the hell has it gone? Have they taken away my ME262? Oh no, I'm just blind. Never mind. So yeah, this is the squadron vehicle, which they talked about. So separate ammo counter for different groups of cannons now appears on the interface. So you can see it says the MK103s, the MK108s, and the MG151s all have different ammunition areas. And if we have a look at the 264, that's just not the case. So yeah, I think this is just supposed to say 262. The X-38 aiming angles of turrets have been specified. Hopefully it won't be able to shoot through itself. The Beaufort Mark 8, no longer any need to open the bomb door to launch torpedoes. That is the change we all needed for the Beaufort. Very happy that it's been able to get it. The Su-2BB1 and all modifications, aiming angles of the turrets have been specified. Once again, I hope it can't shoot through its tail. The TSS-1 turret ammo rack has been changed from 900 to 1,000. The MB-157, the carrier takeoff, has been removed for some missions, probably because it struggles to do it. The Mi-4AV, number of firing points, has been corrected. Good. The Do-217N2, number of firing points, has been corrected. And the J5 is the same change. So that's nice. There are some flight model changes. The Wyvern S4, as we talked about before, the flight characteristics have been corrected. The maximum speed rates and climb rates now correspond with the datasheet specifications. Lovely stuff. You're going to have to test that out and see how it does. I'm sure it won't be too different from what it was before. All helicopters, a bug has been fixed where after activating the instructor-controlled engine in mouse aim mode, the rotor could not be set at a maximum pitch, and consequently the helicopter could not take off. So this was the bug that a lot of people were running into when it came with stuff like the top-tier helicopters, and a lot of people were telling me it was to do with the fact that the engines themselves were underpowered, and that wasn't the case. It was because of a bug. So hopefully that has fixed it. All helicopters, when switching to the gunner's view, the instructor will no longer disable hover mode. God, that would be scary. The naval weaponry turret aiming algorithm has been improved. When changing salvo side, the turrets start rotation in advance to keep as many firing guns in the sector as possible. The 203mm Mark 19 shell penetration figures have been specified. So that is actually really nice, this change. And the reason why I'll tell you it's nice. So one of the problems with switching sides was you had to get your camera all the way around before your turrets would start moving to that side, especially if they were stuck looking at the other end. So having more reaction when it comes to those turrets is incredibly important. It pretty much means that the turrets are going to be online quicker and they're not going to be stuck in certain places. Some naval characteristic stuff, so the Hiburi class Sionen 1944, the buoyancy center position has been corrected. The ignition parameters for fuel tanks have been fixed. Previously set parameters more often led to fires, including the ignition of empty tanks. Well, that's nice, you know. Hopefully we'll have less fires around the place. The Type Z Storer 1936B and 1936A Mobs Z32 and the Flotten torpedo boats 1930-1922, the Nürnberg as well. Visual model for autocannons has been changed from C30 to C38, so they'll look slightly different, which is great. And in locations and missions, in Gladiators 4 vs 4 missions, the last bonus round is now set randomly as 1 vs 1, 2 vs 2, or 4 vs 4. Interesting. The Naval Enduring Confrontation. So coastal artillery defending ports have received new modeling. Well, we knew that was going to happen, right? With the big guns that were added to the file, so that's going to be interesting to see. Hydroplanes, floatplanes are now able to repair and reload at friendly ports. That is awesome. The repair algorithm for coastal artillery has been fixed. Artillery repairs correctly now. Lovely stuff. In Naval Confrontation, aircraft missions now appear later in order to let players gather the correct number of points to select an aircraft. Awesome. Like, all of these are great changes. If a team hasn't completed port capture and it has reverted to neutral, respawns will not be active at this location for both teams. Thank the Lord. Holy Jesus. That was a problem that I had for a long time when I played this mode, where basically a team would just keep spawning on the points even though they didn't control it because it was one of their last points, and they could just keep it, you know, staying at neutral instead of us capturing it, even though we just kept killing them over and over again. And the interface, new option to disable the azimuth scale in third-person view for ground units has been added, and the recent radar zone area is now displayed by azimuth and elevation degrees. So the azimuth, as somebody pointed out in the comment section the other week, is the like compass area you have at the top where it tells you the numbers on where you are aiming. So I'm happy that you can disable it now. I don't know why you would. I actually think it's a really nice tool to use in the game. So yeah, it's nice that you have the option to disable it. I just wouldn't, if I'm honest. And the recent radar zone stuff, that's good as well. The PGO-2 and the Vulcan cannon sound issue has been fixed. So that is the two miniguns. Hopefully they have, you know, a little bit better of a time instead of just wailing and sounding really, really odd. So a massive minor updates, if I'm honest. A lot of big changes here. which, as I said, make sure if there are any bugs to report them. But at the same time, I don't really see anything here that screams massive changes, just slight changes due to historical values, as you can find, or just slight changes in refinement when it comes to certain vehicles. So I'm really happy that we have this bug patch, and remember, if people ever say they never fix anything, just point them towards the changelogs, and they'll be incredibly surprised. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, Elove Goat, and Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.